and I would be asking a child next to me, do you think this is completely powdered? And I'd probably say yes or no, depending on the fineness of the powder. And then I would ask the child, would you like to have the ground gram? And he would choose to say yes or no. And then we look at this oilcloth and say, is there any spillage? Yes, there is. So we'll have to use, if it's very large, we'll use our fingers. And if it's fine dust, then we will use a dustpan and spade to clean it all up. So as I'm speaking, you can note down what the child will probably learn from this activity, and what, in relation to what they need in the age group of 2.5 to 6. So this was the exercise of practical life. Now we'll move on to the sensorial. Now what is sensorial? Children during this period of time are very keen and are sensitive to everything that is happening in their environment, and they're learning through their senses. They want to touch, they want to feel, they want to smell, and everything is hands-on, right? They're moving here and there, and they want to explore the world. Right? So, and we know that everything that is in our intelligence today once went through our senses. That is the pathway to our intelligence. And Maria Montessori actually specialized in kind of taking one aspect of the properties of matter and materializing them in a material so that the child will be able to focus on them. Say, for instance, dimensions, the 3 linear dimensions of length, breadth, and height. They're embedded in what we call the cylinder blocks. Okay? Can someone senses? What other senses do we have? Apart from your visual sense, your auditory sense, smell, olfactory, taste, gustatory, touch, tactile, yes? And there's a little mysterious one called the stereognostic sense. It's what people who are blind will be using, the sense that they would use to touch and feel and to know about things without their sight. Yeah. We also have the thermic sense, where people can touch and feel and determine hot from cold. We also have the ability to feel weight, baric sense. Okay, not very distinctly, but Maria Montessori actually materialized all these abilities that we have and offer them to the child. Why do you think that would be necessary? Is that necessary? Is it necessary to offer the children activities that will give them an opportunity to explore their senses? Why is it necessary, you think?
To build their support system for themselves, to understand what is danger and what is probably helpful for them to do.
Beautiful. Yeah. Motor planning. Yes, that's all integrated in the activity. Sensorial kind of helps the child, like I said, determine a particular property of matter. What are the properties of matter? Shape, color, texture, yeah, weight. So each of these things she kind of materialized as a single activity.
Also to help them remember, I think, like recognize and remember.
Very good. And also become a very keen observer, and to be able to get all this information that's available in the world, and kind of be able to find out the differences in those variations. Like, is it really soft, or is it hard? You know, what is the color? Is it light or dark, or a shade in between? So they're very keen to the differences in the world around them. We didn't touch on the auditory sense, right? So they'll be able to differentiate very, very minute differences in their environment, and therefore be more keenly taking in information, being able to receive the information in a more accurate way, because they've been exposed to these activities in a Montessori classroom. So this is one of the activities. We call this the cylinder block. And for this activity, there's no words. Why? No words that the teacher will offer. I know that's very, very shocking for a teacher not to talk, but there's a reason why. Could you think of a reason why? Exactly. If we were to talk, they would look at our mouth and not at what the objective of the material is. So that's why she said, less talking, more doing. I finished 3 of this. I'll ask the child, would he like to take over, or she like to take over, and the activity belongs to the child. So what is happening here? So the child is trying to see the dimensions of the cylinder and match it with a socket. And each cylinder is of a varying dimension. And this material is self-correcting. The teacher does not have to interfere. There's, if the child were to put it in any other place, it wouldn't go. Or if it did go, visually, the child has an idea that this is not the right place. So this is embedded in it so many different learning aspects apart from just length, breadth, and height. So there are varying dimensions. Over here we have varying dimensions of? What is the variation in dimension? Okay, very good. It is varying in diameter. Definitely weight. What else? Height, yes. So you can see that the child, without any words, will be able to differentiate between these dimensions and accordingly place it without the teacher's interference.
So if the child is able to understand this, do you think the child will be able to, I mean, we know the words for it, right? But we know this is height or this is weight. The child doesn't have those things in their vocabulary as yet.
Correct.
So how do they express it, or how do they use it in another situation?
Lovely question. So initially, they're just absorbing the material. They have no need to learn the words yet. Later on, when they have absorbed all that is necessary, and we are observing the way they're working with the material, then we offer them the name lessons. We call them name lessons. And we will say tall and short, or thick and thin. We don't give them length, breadth, and height yet. They're only 2.5 years. There's a time for that. Right now, we give them short, tall, thick, thin. So these are the words we will offer, which will help them express what they've learned and integrate what they have learned. Yeah, understanding happens then. Very good question. So what else have we learned from this activity? Anything else? How was I holding? Huh? Why were I? Yes, that's a good question to ask, and I was wondering whether you will know. What do we use? Yes, we use it for writing. Very good. So they're already developing the strength in the fingers and the a kind of preparation for later activities. And embedded in this is also the concept of the numbers from 1 to 10. So all these materials have 10 little sockets and 10 little cylinders that will be subconsciously integrated into the child's system, so that learning of math, and you can already see this is a first activity for math, right? Length, breadth, and height. So much of science has gone into the making of these materials. It's simply beautiful if you were to delve deeper into it. I think I'll stop there, otherwise I'll never be able to get to what we intended to do on the PPT. So like we said, education transforms lives, and we know that the Montessori method does that. She says that the education of even a small child, therefore, does not aim at preparing a child just for school, but for life. And that's her definition of education. It is life itself. Okay. What children need in their preschool years? We see a lot of physical activity, gross motor skill, right? Fine motor skill. We have intellectual activity going on, yes? Social, emotional skills. And we have Maria Montessori, who gave us varying activities for both, for group work and for individual work. We know that there's a lot to learn in a group, but there's much more to learn alone, right? We as humans, when we sit alone and concentrate on a work, we get it integrated in our system. So she's done an analysis of that as well. Also, she spoke about the inner self, the spirit. And she said that we are primarily spirit, and we just have a mass of flesh and bones that covers it. And we know that we have an inner voice that keeps talking to us. This is what you must do. This is what we mustn't do. And I think that's why we are here, right? Something told you, pick education. So we have something, and it's all connected. It's all connected. All that we do, all that we say is a part of that spirit, intellectual mind and our spiritual mind. So this is some pictures of what we have in the Free Thinking School. Children at work, children doing individual work, group work, playing and eating. Eating is a big part in the Montessori method. Transform lives through education. How does that happen? At a more generic level, it takes away all the inequalities that exist in our society, especially with regard to gender, right? It empowers women to become contributing members of society, to be able to fight for our own rights, and we deserve an equal pay, yes? And with education, it kind of gives us that platform where we can find equity. It also, at the basic level, helps us to save the lives of our children from the diseases that are there in the world. And it also offers us the skill sets to impact not only ourselves and our families, but generations to come. And I believe it was Mahatma Gandhi who said that if we educate a man, we educate an individual. But if we educate a woman, we educate an entire family, right? So our power is, of course, much greater. And the impact that we have, like I said, impacts generations, and we can, I believe, change the world through education. This is a bit about me, and I think you'll find similar patterns in the stories that you have to share, right? We as women have very similar patterns in the way our story and life pans out. After I graduated from college, I aspired to become a fashion designer, and did very well at that. Selected by Smirnoff International as one of the 20 leading fashion designers. But very shortly thereafter, married and had 2 lovely children. I spent a lot of time with them. And then I came to the point where you are today. I wanted to restart my career. And I was very burdened by the fact that my children had to go through the very tiresome, painful education system that exists, and that nothing had changed since my time. So I wanted to make a change and to see something different for our children, and decided to do my Bachelor of Education. And I did that at Christ University. Went into teaching English at high school level. I taught 8th, 9th, and 10th grade. And again, like all of us probably here, I found that the impact that it has very, very minimalistic. The standards are very, very poor across the country. I went for invigilation at the 10th grade, and I saw it was really appalling. The standards are, I mean, our objectives were way up there. We wanted learning outcomes, but everything was at the base minimum level, and I knew this was not the way it was meant to be. And so I found answers, like I shared this morning, in the Montessori method, because it takes care of the individual needs of the child, of each child. And the program is not for the whole class. The program is for each individual child, where they are at, and giving them what they need at that particular time in their development. So it's such a beautiful method that I just fell in love with. And I went through the course. That was a beautiful journey. Tough one, but a good one. And now I'm the founder and directress of the FreeThinking School. So encourage you all to walk down that path of education. It's the most fulfilling thing to be with children. I just wanted to read Maria Montessori's quote on this. She wrote that there are 2 kinds of life. We have our careers and our motherhood, and a woman is privileged to share in both. But the better of the 2 is that with children, for nearness to them brings out our best side. And it truly does. You kind of learn more from them than you will ever teach them. So as we make our daily trek between 2 worlds, let's be mothers first, even at work. Isn't that beautiful? We can be mothers everywhere to take care of the needs of the children, both at home and at school. Maria Montessori, she was the founder of the method, and she was born 148 years ago. And her method has been in existence for over 100 years now, across several continents, and in our country especially, because she visited here and was here for a very long time. She was an inspirational woman, and I think we all can draw inspiration from her life. She lived in a society where, of course, a patriarchal society, where women weren't encouraged to do a doctorate. And she fought her way through medical school and turned out to be the first female doctor in Italy, Europe. She was not first reminder. I'm hardly halfway through. All right. Social activist. She was a social activist and fought for female rights. And her methodology has transformed lives of children across the world. I think hers is the only method that has survived this long. The beauty of this method lies, like I already mentioned and demonstrated to you, in its scientific, it's seeped in science. Okay. Why am I saying that? She did her doctorate in pediatrics, psychiatry, and in anthropology. So she had these multifaceted ideas of the child. She understood the child in so many different ways. And she didn't stop there. she went on for 26 years to follow children, to observe them very keenly. And it's the revelations that they made to her that actually gave birth to the method. So educationists across the world, they had ideas which they experimented and implemented and then discovered whether it was good or not. Hers was born out of research. So that's why we know that hers is one of the most scientific methods available today. Her philosophy, is based on the idea that children are intrinsically motivated to learn. We already are programmed to develop. Do you believe that? Yes, as human beings, we have this urge to discover, to explore, and to develop our abilities all the time. And we're restless. We want to get better and perfect at whatever we're doing. So that was the foundation of her whole method. So we don't have to keep prodding, because the child is going to be driven anyway. It's just a matter of giving them direction, giving them a link with the environment, and they will develop naturally. That's so contrary to what we have been through, where the teacher was actually whipping us into learn, take out this book, learn that. So the method is also, like I already mentioned, individualized and experiential. It's hands-on. Everything that the child does is through the work of his hands. And there's a beautiful connection between your hand and your brain. Every time you work with something, you discover something new, and the information is two-way. It's developing both ways. You're refining your senses, you're developing your brain. It's also a mixed-age classroom, children from 2.5 to 6 years of age. What do you think will be happening in a mixed-age classroom? Beautiful, yes, that's the answer. They are learning from each other, and in so many different ways. It's like a little home away from home, where the big ones teach the small ones, and the small ones, they're just observing, and they give the big ones an opportunity to take care of them. It's a lovely family setup in a Montessori environment. Nowhere else in life do we see children of the same age or human beings of the same age in any one room. Here also, I think I'm the oldest, and we have very young people here, right? We never have, except in a traditional classroom, children of the same age group together. It's not a developmentally diverse group, right? Freedom. This is a very alien word to us, right? We think freedom means doing nothing or just doing your own thing without any control. But in a Montessori environment, freedom is a privilege that the child will earn. And there are guidelines. There are guidelines and rules within which they should work. But how are they free then? They are free to speak. That's what they need. They are now integrating language. And if they don't ever get to speak, how will they express themselves, right? So we give them freedom to speak to one another and the adult. We give them freedom to move, very essential for development. They need to coordinate their bodies, the fine motor skill, the gross motor skill, and to get the balance. We need that. The children need that at that age. So we give them freedom to move. We give them freedom to repeat an activity as long as they want. Why is that important?
So they internalize it.
Yes, and we as human beings, we need repetition. Yes, even to mark those things in life, we need repetition, right? But here we know that is how the human being actually learns. We need to repeat. And we give the child the freedom to do that. The freedom to work at your own pace. I might take a very long time to learn math. You might be very quick at doing that. So you're free to progress, and those who are taking their time, well and good. So everyone is working at their own pace and in different areas, right? Isn't that a better way to learn, instead of struggling and suffering through a course which you're never really going to get good at, or that you're way ahead and you're never going to be given the opportunity to excel further? So learning at the child's own pace. And this method gives a teacher the ability to form a very close relationship with the student, to understand and follow them where they're at each area of learning. That was one glimpse into a day in the life of a boy in a Montessori. So you saw I was doing all the activities without any direction. He was doing constructive work, he was doing developmental work in all the areas, math, language, and sensorial. So winding up on this, why should we choose a career in Montessori? Because it's the most fulfilling career you'll ever get. If you've been in the technical world, in the IT world, you'll know it's very busy, you have time schedules. I'm not saying that you won't be busy here, but it's a beautiful kind of busy. And if that's your calling, if that's your passion, then I encourage you that there's nothing more fulfilling and rewarding than to be with children. The reward comes from them. A hug, they'll tell you even, "I love you, auntie." So it's amazing. You'll never get that feedback in the world outside. So it's also a very good thing for women folk, because it will help you maintain that work-life balance. We are mothers, we are children ourselves, we have parents of our own. We have so many different roles to play, and a career in the education sector is, I think, the most ideal, where we can spend time at home and at work as well, and both will be just as rewarding. Why choose for your children? If you're a mother and you have children in this age group, they develop all these attributes that you were looking forward to for them to develop very, very naturally, without any effort, because the materials actually have all these things integrated for them. They learn to be self-disciplined, much more competent than their peers. I hate to compare, but that's really what happens in a Montessori classroom, because the activities have such a wide range, and they're happy. And at the end of the day, they love to learn. And you can see the joy in their step, the smile on their face while they're learning. And that's the beauty of the method, not anything else. So, and it builds innovators. We have, from the IT sector, we have Larry Page and Sergey Brin, Google founders, Wikipedia founder, Amazon founder. You name it, in every sector we have an innovator who's been a Montessori child. And in fact, the Google founders, they credit their innovativeness to the Montessori method in the Harvard review. And Montessori has integrated in its method the necessary features or aspects for children required in the 21st century. It's the four C's of, that is required for success is collaboration, creativity, communication, and critical thinking. And we are proud to say that the Montessori method has given the opportunity for children to develop all these four. So if you're a mom, if you are interested in starting your own school, if you want to be a teacher leader, come on board the freeThinking School and we'll help guide you in that path. So, who are we? We're based in Bangalore and in Kochi. That's our premises in Kochi currently, and that's the kitchen there. We started 5 years ago, and our age group of children is between 1.5 years of age to 6 years of age, and we are going to be taking Montessori to the masses because it's the most beautiful method for the children available in the world today.
How do you plan to do that? Montessori schools are really expensive nowadays.
Is it?
That are around, yeah. I mean, I have a 2-year-old and I'm looking out for schools for her. So when I go to visit while you want to provide the best for your child and you're trying your best to somehow get them to that school, but you are also, see, one of the reasons why we want our child to go to that school is to learn naturally, right? Learn from an environment which doesn't have an hierarchy or the values basically.
Yeah.
But if it's a school where you are paying a premium to go, then the crowd, the other children that are coming there are also the ones who are actually not the masses, right? The families. So how do you bring that parity? Because ultimately they will come to another world.
So there are schools that may be a little more pricey than the others. You'll have to do a comparative research on that. But I don't believe that we are much more expensive than any other ordinary school. But yes, the training is a specialized training. The material costs a bit. So there will be a little bit more of an expense when it comes to tuition fee, but not majorly. I don't think. It depends on the school. It's varying from school to school, but you'll have to check on that.
Another question that I would have is if after 6 years, so they have learned so much through the Montessori system, when they go back to the system, the other lines of education, which is the usual ones through which we have grown, how do they, would they unlearn the things that they have learned?
No, I don't believe so.
Become more dominant in their mental,
I'm hoping so. It should be. So their learning, we're done. So their learning should be permanent, and what they have integrated will be there. And I'm hoping that they will be in a school that will allow for continued self-learning, self-discipline and self-learning. It's very important that that happens. In a traditional school, very naturally children of the age from 5 to 6 have already settled down. They don't need so much movement than they did in the earlier years. So they will be able to settle down at a desk, keep quiet for a longer period of time, very naturally. That's how we as human beings develop from one phase to another. But I'm hoping that you as a mother would choose a school which has integrated the Montessori ideas and philosophy. And I know now that there are quite a few schools in Bangalore that have done that. We have Center for Learning, we have Neve, we have Prakriya, and very many Montessori schools that have gone into the elementary segment as well. So we have at least, I was sharing with Sweta here, that there are 25 Montessori schools in Bangalore that have the elementary course as well for children. So
this is a unique concept where you say from 1 year to 6 years, the kids are in the same class.
yes,
Like my kid had gone to Prakriya. He had a speaking, I won't say disability, but he was very slow speaker. So he was not the kind who could get into a manufacturing kind of a BPS or a dance school kind of a environment. So I put him in Prakriya and he blossomed because he could articulate much better, express in a different way, in drawing, whether he's sad or dig a pond to understand, what is the soil and how the roots and earthworms. It's fantastic. But I still want to understand from 1 to 6 years. I mean, he was already 6 years.
not 1 to 6. We have divided our environment into 1.5 to 2.5 in a separate environment,
Okay.
because their needs are very different. From 2.5 to 6 is where we integrate our children into one mixed age group, and the learnings that they have from one another are, they understand each other and they have this communication between each other, which is very, very profound. And the elder ones seamlessly become a little teacher, and they just observe each other's work. They'll just sit next to each other, to the person who's elder than them, and watch them do the work. And that's enough to learn. You don't need a teacher in the classroom. They do it so beautifully. So,
One last question is, what is the kind of setup that the parents expect? Is it like you're running a school out of an apartment, or like a individual residential villa kind of a thing, or do they want like a fancy bag? I know they're like face of a I don't know, monkey or whatever, different water bottles, because these are the kind of things that add on to the cost and wow factor, but doesn't help the child at all.
it depends on the locality that you're choosing to establish a school. So if you're establishing in a more posh locality, of course all those ingredients will be required. My experience in the freethinking school, we take care of the needs of the children. The needs of the parents are secondary. So we give them what they need, not all that they want. So we've drawn the line there. There are parents who want 5-star facilities and that we're not able to offer, and it's a choice they make. But we give the children what they definitely need: a comfortable, engaging environment, clean, yes, and safe. So those are the things that are really essential, which we will provide. Those fancy gadgets are not really required.